It's the 77 WABC News Hour.
Talking the news with Noam Laden.
All the news you need to know with Joe Nolan, traffic, Justin Ellick, sports. And now,
Talking the news with Noam
on 77 WABC.
Yes, that's me. Good morning. It is Thursday, October 30th. Your forecast from the 77 WABC Weather Center. Rain on and off throughout this day. The high 61. Tonight and overnight showers, low 51. And then Friday for Halloween, just clouds, high 55. If you're walking out the door with us right now, 54 cloudy in Patchogue out on Long Island. It's 47 and cloudy in Boonton over in New Jersey. And it's 51 and cloudy right outside our Midtown studios.
This is the Top 5 at 5.
It could take years to clean up the mess left behind by Melissa. Andrew Cuomo aims to steal more votes from Curtis Lewa. A tourist viciously attacked in Midtown, middle of the day. A sicko on Long Island is caught taking weird pictures in Target. And runners are lacing up their sneakers for the marathon. All right, let's get into it at 5:01 while you were sleeping and some of us were awake. President Trump in South Korea says he's reached a one-year deal with China on critical rare earth minerals and some tariffs. He's ready to sign off on this deal following talks with Chinese President Xi Jinping in South Korea today. The talks seen as a breakthrough after trade tensions had ramped up again between the world's two biggest economies. This was the president before he went into this meeting that we were told lasted 3-4 hours.
We will be having some discussions. I think we've already agreed to a lot of things, and we'll agree to some more right now.
Yeah, a lot of the groundwork done before the two actually met, which is the normal thing to do. China has said it's willing to work with the U.S. as the two nations have come up with this trade deal.
President Xi is a great leader of a great country, and I think we're going to have a fantastic relationship for a long period of time.
What we're being told, this is a one-year deal. And right before the president went into the meeting with Xi overnight, he ordered the Department of War to begin testing nuclear weapons.
In a Truth Social post, Trump said due to the testing programs of other countries, he's instructing the department to start testing U.S. weapons, quote, on an equal basis, end quote. In the post, he specifically cited the nuclear programs of Russia and China. The last time the U.S. tested a nuclear weapon was 1992. I'm Jim Roop.
Yeah, not accidental that he made that announcement before he went into that meeting with Xi. Of course, there's more details about this agreement coming to us, which they will, I imagine, in the next hour or so. We'll pass them on to you. Let's bring it back home, out onto the campaign trail. A new poll shows Andrew Cuomo gaining some ground on Zohran Mamdani in the race for mayor with less than a week to go till Election Day.
This poll from Quinnipiac University shows Democratic Socialist Zohran Mamdani leading by 10 points. He holds 43% of the vote in this survey, compared to 33% for former Governor Andrew Cuomo and 14% for Republican/Independent Curtis Lewa. In a previous poll dated October 9th, Mamdani was up by 13%. Population tabs show that Mamdani dominates voters ages 18 to 34 by a 44% gap that does dwindle as the voters' age rises. James Flippin for 77 WABC News.
So Andrew Cuomo was out on Staten Island yesterday searching for Republican votes. He's going to need them. He's telling people, don't vote for Curtis Lewa, vote for me.
What I'm saying to Republicans is, in this race, they are pivotal. I agree with President Trump, who said Curtis Lewa is not ready for prime time.
Then he took aim at Zohran Mamdani, the front runner.
He's been offensive to the NYPD in New York, calling them racist and calling them wicked and calling them corrupt.
Curtis Lewa, he too was on Staten Island yesterday, and he thinks of a lot of his supporters will vote early.
I have no idea whose votes they are. All I know is the people who have pledged themselves to support me in this election have said they're getting out there and taking advantage of the early voting, which is good.
Now, that Quinnipiac poll showed that there was a fair amount of voters still on the fence. Some of those New Yorkers making their last-minute decisions. Here was a Sliwa supporter yesterday.
Like I said, I just feel like these two don't really have the best interests of all us New Yorkers, to be honest. I feel like he's really trying to clean up the city, you know?
Do you think he can win?
Of course.
And crime on the mind of this New Yorker who says she has decided to vote for Cuomo.
I voted for Cuomo for the mayor of New York City.
Do you think he's going to win?
I hope he wins. I care about my living stability and my safety.
And former Mayor Michael Bloomberg making an endorsement in the race for mayor. He's putting his money where his mouth is as well. He's supporting Andrew Cuomo, making that announcement yesterday. 5:05, traces of the New York City Marathon just popping up across the city ahead of the race that's on Sunday. It's going to be a busy weekend for the NYPD. You got the huge parade on Friday in the Village, the Halloween parade, and then you've got the marathon on Sunday. New York Roadrunners CEO Rob Simulcare gathering with New York leaders to paint that blue line that runs along the 26.2-mile course through all 5 boroughs.
Where else can you stand shoulder to shoulder with 2 million strangers cheering on total strangers from all over the world? So it's such a special day here in New York.
It's an enormously fun event if you've never gone. More than 55,000 runners expected to follow that iconic blue line, with more than 2 million set to watch and cheer them on, and what's considered for a lot the best day of the year in New York. New York Roadrunners says the marathon is projected to generate about $700 million for the city.
Last year, we broke the record for the largest marathon ever with 55,600 finishers. And this Sunday, with the entire world looking on, we have a pretty good chance of doing the same and breaking that record again.
Yeah, and if you walk around the city, you can see right away who's in town for the race, because they have like these skinny, fit bodies ready to run the marathon. 5:06, a Long Island man under arrest following the home invasion and rape of a 74-year-old in Suffolk County. This took place last Friday. Cops say 29-year-old Jawarin Booker is responsible for that heinous act.
This is a crime that is really unspeakable. And this gentleman, Mr. Booker, is a poor excuse for a human being.
That's Suffolk County Executive Ed Romaine. Police say Booker broke into the woman's apartment in Holbrook. This was early morning hours of last Friday. Through a window, she pinned her down, raped her before running off. DNA evidence, surveillance video led detectives to Booker, who was hiding in the Bronx. He's now facing burglary and rape charges in the first degree. WABC News Time 5:09. Let's go down to North Carolina, getting more details of this heinous crime. A dad there confessing to killing 4 of his 5 children, putting their bodies in the trunk of his car. Johnston County Sheriff Steve Bazell says they haven't uncovered a motive behind 38-year-old Wellington Dickens' actions.
But as the sheriff, as a father, and as a grandfather, I can stand here and say there's no reason for a father to murder his children.
Bazell says the emergency operators, they got a 911 call from a man who claimed he killed his children at his house in the town of Zebulon. The man said his 3-year-old son was alive inside the house, while 4 other older children were dead inside of the trunk of the car. Deputies found the bodies of the 4 children in the trunk, ages 6, 9, 10, and 18.
Something got to him, and he was just ready to give it up, ready to turn himself in, and pretty much called and said, "I'm here."
Dickens currently being held without bond on 4 counts of murder. A jury has found a former Illinois sheriff's deputy guilty of second-degree murder in the death of Sonia Massey. Activist Teresa Haley reacted to the verdict outside the courtroom.
Second-degree murder? That is not right. That is not justice for anybody's family.
Former Sangamon County Deputy Sean Grayson shot and killed Massey in July of last year after she had called 911 over a potential intruder at her home. The defense argued that Grayson was acting in self-defense because he believed Massey was going to throw a pot of boiling water at him. Grayson faces now 4 to 20-year sentence, or he could get probation with no time at all. Families, lawyers, all reacting to this yesterday.
Do y'all know that this man, even though it may be 20 years, he can get out in 10 years? 10 years!
This second-degree murder charge, make no mistake, Sean Grayson is convicted of murder. He is a murderer now.
A sentencing date has not been set. 5:11, Hurricane Melissa now offshore off eastern Cuba and in the Atlantic Ocean as it heads towards the Bahamas. Melissa left dozens dead, widespread destruction across Cuba, Haiti, Jamaica, where roofless homes, toppled utility poles, waterlogged furniture just dominates the landscape. This man has a relative who he's been trying to reach in Jamaica.
They were saying that the roof, there was a leak in the roof and water was coming in. And then I guess power or something went out, service went out, and he said he hasn't been able to contact them at all since that.
The storm will move across the southeastern or central Bahamas today. Melissa brought devastating flooding yesterday to Cuba after slamming Jamaica on Tuesday. And the effort is on in a big way to get all kinds of supplies, health supplies, food to Jamaica and these other nations affected. And a lot of the work being done out of here in New York, where there's a huge Jamaican population. They're getting trash bags, tents, first aid kits, flashlights, water, all being shipped as we speak.
We also can use diapers. We can use, clothing that they're going to need, socks and shoes, because of the danger that they have now on the streets.
And a lot of people who are collecting these supplies have loved ones in Jamaica, and some of them have not even reached them yet by phone to know how they're doing.
So we're worried about her family members right now, trying to get a hold of them. And we've heard from a couple, but we need to hear from a couple of more. And so other families are doing the same thing we're doing, so folks can bring off emergency foods and diapers and supplies. Obviously, the island has been devastated.
Yeah, lawmakers for sure in Jamaica say it could be years till a lot of those homes and buildings are rebuilt. 5:12, no end in sight to the government shutdown, which is now in its, I think it's 30th day. Correspondent Ryan Nobles reports that thousands of air traffic controllers have now missed their first full paycheck, and some of them not calling in sick.
The FAA reporting more than 3,000 flight delays, some due to controller shortages. All this as lawmakers on Capitol Hill continue to hold their ground, rejecting the idea of a piecemeal approach.
Meantime, food assistance benefits for millions of Americans, food stamps essentially, set to expire this week. And half of the states now suing the Department of Agriculture over the impending cutoff of those food stamps. But the department says the money just isn't there. Democrats continue to hold firm on demands to save health care subsidies that keep insurance premiums down for millions, while Republicans refuse to negotiate until the government is reopened. So the SNAP benefits thing, of course, is huge come the weekend.
Democrats say they're holding firm on negotiations, wanting concessions from Republicans on health care. Meantime, states taking matters into their own hands. 25 states governed by Democrats are suing the Trump administration to keep the funds flowing, despite the government being shut down.
And of course, this blame game continues as it has from day one of the shutdown. Arizona Democratic Senator Mark Kelly says Republicans responsible for the lack of progress in getting this shutdown ended.
Republicans have the House, the Senate, the White House, the president's overseas. As far as I can tell, he has spent 1 hour negotiating with Democrats on this issue.
Senate Majority Leader John Thune, he disagrees with that. He says standalone bills to pay the military or fund SNAP benefits are not the answer, so they need to do more.
That's not the way to approach this. The way to approach this is to reopen the government.
And then we're, of course, hearing from all these people who have not received a paycheck. Yesterday, there was a food drive at Westchester County Airport to feed TSA workers who don't make a whole lot of money to get food. Shop right up there, providing some of the groceries that was handed over to workers while they were on the job. They're essential workers. Then we're hearing from the leader of the Cherokee Nation, which has declared a state of emergency there in response to the federal government shutdown. They rely on food stamps and SNAP benefits.
Thousands and thousands of our fellow Cherokees are going to be suffering in the month of November because the federal government is shut down and SNAP benefits are cut off. So this declaration enables us to deploy $6.5 million.
And the food banks there, Cherokee Nation, they've been overwhelmed.
Some of it will be in the form of direct payments to Cherokee citizens who are SNAP participants who will not be getting SNAP benefits in the month of November. We will come through with direct cash assistance.
Yeah, so they're helping members of the Cherokee Nation as they make their way through this. And there's, by the way, no vote in sight, at least in the next 24, 48 hours, where this government shutdown will end. In a moment, we'll tell you, some good news. The Fed actually lowered interest rates yesterday. We'll tell you a little more about that coming up in just a moment. But first, 5:15, let's head over to the 77 WABC Sports Desk. Good morning, Justin Ellick.
Good morning to you, Noam. Layden, we'll start on the hardwood out here in Brooklyn. Your only local sports action from last night. The Nets dropped to 0-5 on the young season after a 117-112 loss to the visiting Atlanta Hawks. Michael Porter Jr. scored a season-high 32 points for the Nets, who fell to 0-5 for the first time since the 2015-16 season when they lost their first 7 games. Cam Thomas scored 19 points on 6-20 shooting, and Nick Claxton had 18 points and 12 rebounds. The Hawks spotted the Nets a 12-0 lead, but pulled ahead 20-19 with just over 5 minutes left in the first quarter and never trailed again, although Brooklyn made it close at the end. 2 free throws by Porter got the Nets within 115-112 with about a minute and a half left, and Brooklyn had a chance to draw closer but missed its final 5 shots. Up next for the Nets, they'll host Philadelphia come Sunday night. Looking ahead to local action tonight on the ice, you get another triple header here. 7:30 p.m. The Islanders are out in Carolina against the Hurricanes. Tonight at 9 p.m. Rangers are up in Edmonton against the Oilers, and at 10 p.m. Devils will be out in San Jose against the Sharks. Last night on the Diamond out in Los Angeles, the Blue Jays beating up on the Dodgers once again. Dodgers bats have gone quiet here last couple of games, and with that lineup, that's saying a lot. So Blue Jays beat the Dodgers 6-1 in Game 5 of the World Series, so Toronto now leads that series 3-2. LA's backs are up against the wall for Game 6 Friday night, with the series returning to Toronto. And it is Thursday already, which means Week 9 in the NFL gets underway. Thursday Night Football, 8:15 p.m. kickoff. As always, it's the Ravens and the Dolphins out in Miami. That is your Sports Now, man. I'm Justin Ellick on 77 WABC.
WABC News Time 5:19. The Fed announcing yesterday it's lowering interest rates by a 0.25 percentage point. Fed Reserve Chair Jerome Powell says another interest rate could come December.
In the near term, risks to inflation are tilted to the upside and risks to employment to the downside. A challenging situation. There is no risk-free path for policy as we navigate this tension between our employment and inflation goals.
Powell acknowledged the government shutdown did impact the decision. The benchmark rate is now in the range of 3.75% to 4%. The Fed's cut has this trickle-down effect on consumers, lowering mortgage, credit card, and auto loan interest rates. Here's more from Powell.
In support of our goals and in light of the balance of risks to employment and inflation, today the Federal Open Market Committee decided to lower our policy interest rate by a 0.25 percentage point.
And that's what Wall Street expected. And Powell also talked about the job market, which has been pretty soft lately.
Job gains have slowed significantly since earlier in the year. A good part of the slowing likely reflects a decline in the growth of the labor force due to lower immigration and labor force participation, though labor demand has clearly softened as well.
Yeah, and we've been hearing a lot about that here. People communicating with me saying they've been having a very hard time finding a job. People who either want to move from one job to another or are out of work having a very difficult time finding a job. 5:21, Health Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. says he has not seen sufficient evidence to link Tylenol to autism. Now, this is all very confusing, because we were told that there might be some link coming from the president, but now the health secretary backing off that. Here he was yesterday.
The causative association with between Tylenol given in pregnancy and the perinatal periods is not sufficient to say it definitely caused autism. But it is very suggestive.
Okay, so which one is it? Speaking to reporters yesterday, Kennedy said the pain medicine should be used cautiously. In September, you'll remember, Kennedy and the president held this press conference to warn pregnant women against using Tylenol.
And it's suggestive in animal studies and core blood studies and observational studies from nation to nation.
All right, so now he's softened that warning. Here's more from him yesterday.
Our message to patients, to mothers, to people who are pregnant, to the mothers of young children is consult your physician And we have asked physicians to minimize the use to when it's absolutely necessary.
Now, the makers of Tylenol have repeatedly defended themselves in the last month since that announcement, saying the medication has no scientific link to autism at all. Eli Lilly and Walmart working to increase access to the weight loss drug Zepbound.
The partnership announced Wednesday will let customers buy the drug directly at retail locations for the first time. Next month, customers with a prescription and paying cash can get single-dose vials of Zepbound over the counter or through home delivery. It will cost about $350 a month for a single-dose vial. I'm Tammy Trujillo.
WABC News Time 522. Let's go down to Mississippi, where the widow of Charlie Kirk, paying tribute to her late husband, Erica Kirk, spoke at a Turning Point event at the University of Mississippi yesterday.
You guys have no idea how helpful it is to have all of you in my life, because you help me feel even more deeply connected to my husband.
Kirk says her husband worked hard to reach out to young people because he believed Gen Z was a courageous generation. She urged the audience to make him proud now.
Gen Z, you are the courageous generation. Hear me when I say that. My husband believed that to his core. That's why he was trying to reach you. You are the courageous generation.
She was joined by Vice President J.D. Vance, who was a close friend of Kirk, with the event coming just a month after Kirk was assassinated while speaking at an event in Utah. 10 people in custody in connection with crimes committed at anti-ICE protests in Southern California. The acting U.S. Attorney, Bill Asali, spoke in Los Angeles yesterday.
As we have said many times, violence in any form, specifically targeted at law enforcement, is unacceptable and illegal. You will be arrested, you will be charged, and you will face serious prison time.
The arrest connected to violent protests in downtown Los Angeles back in June. In those protests, objects thrown at officers, vehicles were set on fire. Other arrests are connected with the protest that took place in Camarillo back in July after ICE agents raided a cannabis farm there and detained several people.
I want to be clear, this is not a game. I think some people out there think this is some sort of a game or political stunt, and you have elected officials who are encouraging this behavior. The consequences here are extremely serious. Not only are these actions dangerous, they're also ineffective. We have not and we will not stop our immigration enforcement operations. Nothing will stop us.
Now, one of the suspects who's still on the loose is accused of pointing a gun or possibly firing a gun at federal agents. A reward now of up to $100,000 being offered for information leading to an arrest of that person. 525, back down to Washington. New documents released suggest former President Biden's FBI may have investigated more than 160 Republicans. Iowa Republican Chuck Grassley spoke about the new information found.
The subpoena requested records and communications related to over 430 individual and organizations. All of them appear to be aimed at Republicans.
The so-called Arctic Frost Probe, looking into the 2020 presidential election interference allegations. Republican members of the House Judiciary Committee say those who were potentially under investigation included Steve Bannon, Rudy Giuliani, and Mark Meadows. Committee Chair Jim Jordan says the investigation is broad and much more expansive than they ever thought it would be.
AT&T informed me they challenged the legal basis for Jack Smith's efforts, and Smith backed down. These subpoenas were issued to 34 individuals and 163 businesses, including financial institutions.
In a Truth Social post last week, the president accused the investigation of spying. He said that the Democrats were spying on senators and House members during the Biden administration. 526, let's go overseas. Israel says the ceasefire back on in Gaza following deadly airstrikes on Tuesday. Correspondent Matt Bradley's in Tel Aviv.
Israel launched renewed airstrikes in Gaza after accusing Hamas of violating the ceasefire by failing to return the bodies of dead hostages and firing on Israeli troops. More than 100 Palestinians were killed from those strikes. This, according to the Hamas-run Gaza Civil Defense Agency. President Trump weighed in on those strikes and whether the ceasefire is in jeopardy, saying that the Israelis hit back and that they should hit back He also said that this wasn't going to jeopardize this hard-won ceasefire deal. It released drone footage yesterday that it said showed Hamas militants burying a body only to stage its discovery hours later in front of the Red Cross. Hamas has denied Israel's claims and said Israel is creating false pretexts to return to war.
So for now, that ceasefire is holding in the Middle East.
It's the 77 WABC News Hour.
Talking the news with Noam Laden.
All the news you need to know with Joe Nolan, traffic, Justin Ellick, sports. And now,
Talking the news with Noam
on 77 WABC.
Yes, that's me. Good morning. It is Thursday, October 30th. Your forecast from the 77 WABC Weather Center. Rain on and off throughout this day. The high 61. Tonight and overnight, showers, low 51. And then Friday for Halloween, it'll just be cloudy, high 55. If you are walking out the door with us right now, so happy you are. 54 cloudy in Patchogue out on Long Island. It's 47 and cloudy in Boonton over in New Jersey. And it's 51 and cloudy right outside our Midtown studios. WABC News Time 5:39. Let's go out to the campaign for mayor. It's 5 days left. Do you include Thursday? I guess if you included Thursday, it would be 6 days. But really, no. It's 5 days until the election. Thank God. Democratic nominee Zohran Mamdani maintaining a double-digit lead in the latest Quinnipiac poll that came out yesterday. It shows the Democratic Socialist at 43%, Andrew Cuomo at 33%, and Curtis Sliwa in last place at 14%. Mary Snow, she's the poll director for Quinnipiac.
One thing that did stand out to us is that there's been a slight increase in the number of people who are on the fence, the undecideds. And that suggests that there could be movement in these final days.
Yeah, so the survey found that Curtis Sliwa had the highest number of supporters who could switch candidates before Election Day. Among those voters backing Sliwa, 81% say they are likely to vote for him, but 15% say they could change their mind before Election Day. So I got Andrew Cuomo's attention, and he went out to Staten Island, where there's lots of Republicans, to make his case yesterday.
What I'm saying to Republicans is, in this race, they are pivotal. I agree with President Trump, who said Curtis Sliwa is not ready for prime time.
And then Cuomo went after the front-runner, Zohran Mamdani.
You now get down to the last week. They're starting to focus. They're starting to learn who Zohran really is, and what he has said and what he stands for and what the Democratic Socialist agenda is all about.
Now, Curtis Sliwa, he was also out on Staten Island yesterday, where he's been many times before. He says his support there is solid and that those voters are not going to go for Andrew Cuomo.
I think people in Staten Island know that both him and Zohran are coming there to get the votes. But they've never been there before, and I guarantee you after the election, they'll never be on Staten Island again. I'm Staten Island strong, through and through.
And then it was interesting yesterday is the head of the MTA. You know, these guys want to stay away from being too political, but he was asked about Zohran Mamdani's promise of free buses and whether that could actually happen. Lisa G has more.
New York City mayoral candidate Zohran Mamdani wants free buses for all. It's been a big message of his campaign, but for the first time, MTA head Janno Lieber is saying not so fast.
You have to give the kind of serious study to some of these proposals that we did with congestion pricing.
Lieber told New York One that you've got to study how to do it. You just can't do it. And what happens when more people jump on a bus because it's free?
If a lot more people are riding the bus, are we going to need more buses? Are we going to need more bus drivers? Will we need extra depots?
Election Day is November 4th. Stay tuned. Lisa G, 77 WABC News.
Andrew Cuomo picked up 2 or more endorsements yesterday from prominent Democrats aligned with the Democratic Party. Well, one of them, I guess you can't call a full-on Democrat, but Long Island Congressman Tom Suozzi, he endorsed the former governor who is running as an independent. And then later in the day, former Mayor Michael Bloomberg said that he would support Andrew Cuomo, saying his management experience and government know-how set him apart from the other candidates. Now, other power powerful Democrats in the state have all thrown their support behind Zohran Mamdani, except for Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer, who has not made an endorsement in the race. 543, with SNAP benefits set to expire come the weekend, everybody's trying to figure out how out those people who rely on those food stamps to pay for groceries. Congressman Richie Torres up in the Bronx speaking out about these contingency funds that are available to keep SNAP going.
In New York 15, there are 272,000 Bronxites who depend on SNAP. The Bronx is not Donald Trump's bargaining chip.
Torres blaming the president and Republicans for the ongoing government shutdown. Of course, Republicans blaming Democrats. Here's more from Richie Torres.
We are passing out dry...
No, that's not Richie Torres. But anyway, Richie Torres asking for the government to fund these SNAP payments before they run out on over the weekend. And then up at Westchester County Airport yesterday, there was a food bank that came to the airport itself and started handing out food to TSA workers who are not getting paid now. They don't make a lot of money, but they're essential workers. They're on the job. So they were handing out free groceries to them yesterday.
We are passing out dry shelf-stable goods and produce. The government shut down. They have gone without paychecks. We feel as though they shouldn't, right? Like, we need to show up for our community, and that's what we're doing. We want to make sure that they are fed and that they have one less thing to worry about, which is food.
Yes, so they also say there's a number of federal workers, 7,000 of them in all, that live in Westchester County who are not getting paid now, and they're suggesting to them that if you're having a hard time putting food on the table, show up at one of these events and grab some food if you can.
So we have a specific program right now for federal workers where you would get home deliveries via DoorDash.
Yeah, so they're trying to do their best to help these workers out as the shutdown continues. By the way, no sign of it ending. There's no even vote on the table in the Senate to end the shutdown. In a moment, we'll tell you about what was a vicious attack on a tourist from Israel in midtown Manhattan in the middle of the day. We'll get into that in just a moment. But first, 5:45, let's head over to the 77 WABC Sports Desk, and here's Justin Ella.
Thank you, Noam Layden. We'll start out here in Brooklyn on the hardwood. The Nets dropped to 0-5 on the young season after a 117-112 loss to the visiting Atlanta Hawks. Michael Porter Jr. scored a season-high 32 points for the Nets, who fell to 0-5 for the first time since the 2015-16 season when they lost their first 7 games. Cam Thomas scored 19 points on 6 of 20 shooting, and Nick Claxton had 18 points and 12 rebounds. The Hawks spotted the Nets a 12-0 lead, but pulled ahead 20-19 with just over 5 minutes left in the first quarter. Never trailed again, although Brooklyn made it close at the end. 2 free throws by Porter got the Nets within 115-112 with about 90 seconds left, and Brooklyn had a chance to draw closer, but missed its final 5 shots. Up next for the Nets, they'll host Philadelphia come Sunday night. Head to triple header tonight on the ice to look forward to. It's 7:30. The Islanders are out in Carolina against the Hurricanes at 9 p.m. Rangers are up in Edmonton against the Oilers, and at 10 p.m. later tonight, the Devils will be in San Jose against the Sharks. Head to the Diamond in Los Angeles, where the Blue Jays beat the Dodgers again 6-1 in Game 5 of the World Series. So Toronto now leads that series 3-2. LA's backs up against the wall as we head into Game 6 come Friday night, with the series returning to Toronto. And it is Thursday already, which means Week 9 in the NFL gets underway with your weekly installment of Thursday Night Football tonight, 8:15 p.m. It is the Baltimore Ravens out in Miami against the Dolphins, and Baltimore heads in 2-5. Miami heads in 2-6.
Oh, God, who's going to watch this game?
Nobody.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it depends. Lamar Jackson's back. So.
Okay, I guess that's a reason.
You know, the Ravens should look like a semi-different team than they have in weeks past without their MVP-caliber quarterback, and that's the reason they're 7.5-point favorites tonight against the 2-6 Dolphins, who were really bad heading into last weekend, and then all of a sudden ran a rush shot. Almost scored 40 points last weekend, the Dolphins. So we'll see what happens tonight, but I won't be watching for one. That's a fact. No, That's just sports. I'm Justin Ellick on 77 WABC.
WABC News News time 5:48. A rabbi from Jerusalem speaking out after an unprovoked attack that happened to him here in midtown Manhattan. Rami Glickstein says this big man set upon him in midtown with no warning, punching him in the face. He fell over into the bike lane. He was wearing a kippah, so he was identifiably Jewish. It was unprovoked, and Glickstein says when the man approached him, he first pointed at his yarmulke and then afterwards punched him in the face.
And he started to shout, "Hey, tell me what is your religion? Tell me what is your religion?" It's not the pain. It's not the punch. It's the thought that a Jewish man like me go safely in this lovely city.
So they haven't found this creep yet, but he ripped off Glickstein's yarmulke off his head, threw it on the street, spat on it, and then that's when the attack took place out of nowhere.
I don't realize that in New York, I think it's the next big city with full of Jewish people, that I will have this kind of thing.
Glickstein's a rabbi in Jerusalem. He's a chaplain for the IDF. He's a father of 7. His parents, Holocaust survivors. He had, after the attack, bleeding on the brain, a broken nose. It happened, by the way, lunchtime on 38th Street, just a few blocks away from Times Square. He said people ran to help him afterwards, but the attack, the sucker punch, came out of nowhere.
I will come back. I'm not afraid. I know that most all the people in New York are very good people, and I want to come here back.
So far, police tell us they have made no arrests and that the investigation is ongoing. Out to Long Island, a Ridge, Long Island man facing charges for allegedly sexually assaulting a Holbrook woman in her home last week. Suffolk County police say 29-year-old Jawarren Booker came into the 74-year-old victim's home through the window. They then say he physically and sexually assaulted her.
This is a crime that is really unspeakable.
The victim is incredibly strong, and again, we can't thank her enough for all that she's done in this investigation, because, quite frankly, if an individual like this is allowed to stay on the street, he's probably going to do this again.
Booker's been charged with rape and burglary. According to court documents, the victim defendant are strangers. They did not know each other. The prosecutor says the victim, who lives alone, was in her living room. This was about 6 a.m. when she heard a noise in her bedroom, discovered the man in a ski mask, could only see his eyes. The prosecutor says evidence includes a fingerprint which they matched to Booker, who they found in the Bronx this week.
Mr. Booker is a poor excuse for a human being.
Yeah.
To do what he did to a 74-year-old woman is unconscionable.
Yeah, Booker pled not guilty. He's being held without bail. While we're talking about creeps, here's another one. Also on Long Island, Akil Ahmed. He's from Selden, taken to court in handcuffs yesterday to face a judge. He's facing charges of snapping lewd pictures of an underage girl at a Target in Selden. Police say the 53-year-old bent down with his phone to take pictures of the 13-year-old girl's dress while she was browsing for greeting cards with her father at a Target at Independence Plaza. Here's more from police.
I have a 27-year-old.
Oh, this is actually people at the Target talking about this.
I have a 27-year-old daughter, and when she was a kid, I was always worried about stuff like that. So I'm horrified. Like, who does that? It's despicable.
It's unfortunate that that's where things are going in today's day,
Now, what police are telling us is the girl's father saw what happened. He approached Ahmed, who ran out of the store. The father then called 911. In court, Ahmed pleading not guilty to unlawful surveillance, endangering the welfare of a child.
Anyone else feels that they're a victim of a crime that's similar to that, we would, we would love them to come forward. And, if he's out there, violating, anyone else, we want to know about it.
Judge signed an order of protection for Ahmed to stay away from the 13-year-old victim, released him with a GPS monitor and several sex offender conditions, including staying away from any school grounds on Long Island. 5:53 down to South Jersey, where a man has pled guilty in the grisly killing of his girlfriend.
Christopher Blevins of Runnymede down in Camden County was indicted on charges of aggravated manslaughter earlier this week. The 46-year-old, also charged with desecrating human remains and hindering apprehension, admitted to killing 50-year-old Laura Hughes in July of last year. Her body was found in a refrigerator that had been dumped in a forest. He could get 17 years in prison. He faces sentencing December 5th. Hughes' remains found last December. Blevins allegedly fled to Mexico before turning himself in. James Flippin for 77 WABC News.
5:54. Let's bring it back here into Midtown, something a little bit lighter. The NYPD prepared to protect more than 55,000 runners at this weekend's marathon. It's going to be a long weekend for police. You have the parade, the Halloween parade in the West Village on Friday night, and then the marathon on Sunday. Police Commissioner Jessica Tisch says there's no credible threat to the 26.2-mile route that'll draw about 2 million spectators.
Cops will be out there to keep you safe, but we ask everyone to stay alert. If you see something, say something. Let a police officer know or call 911.
New Yorkers will see an increased police presence across the 5 boroughs.
Drivers should expect rolling closures and heavy delays near the route. We encourage everyone to use mass transit whenever possible. Intelligence teams will also be monitoring social media for potential threats, and response units will be deployed citywide to investigate any reports in real time.
Yeah, it's a big day, of course, in New York. And while we're talking about Jessica Tisch, the NYPD mourning the death of one of its longtime serving members, Police Commissioner Jessica Tisch announcing that Chief Chaplain Rabbi Alvin Cass passed away at the age of 89. She calls the loss immeasurable.
During his career, Rabbi Cass comforted the grieving, he counseled the troubled, and he reminded all of us of the deeper purpose of why we do what we do. He was a source of strength, of guidance, of faith for generations of police officers and their families.
Cass was a U.S. Air Force veteran, Columbia University grad, served with the NYPD for 6 decades. And a hearty mazel tov to my longtime friend, Rabbi Joe Potasnik. It was the show that I started on here at 77 WABC. I would work with him and Deacon Kevin McCormick on Sunday mornings on a show at the time that was called Religion on the Line, a lot of years ago. And they were great guys to work with. So I was really happy when I heard yesterday that the FDNY gave the rabbi a huge promotion. He was named Chief Chaplain for the FDNY, a really deserving honor since he's been counseling New York's bravest for more than 25 years now. Here's a piece of videotape that the FDNY put out.
I think that one of the important roles that we play as chaplains is to bring spiritual support to our members. We are present at all kinds of life cycle celebrations. We are present at some of the major tragedies.
Joe Potasnik, not only just a great guy, but a very funny one as well when you get to know him. He's had led Congregation Mount Sinai in Brooklyn Heights for decades, sits on the New York Board of Rabbis. And of course, his show now with the Rev, which is called The Rev and the Rabbi, can be heard every Sunday morning at 7 a.m. right here on 77 WABC.